Hello, Miss Art Garden here, and today we're going to draw or paint a sugar skull. Well, first we're going to do the portrait part. And so if you want to just, we're going to paint a portrait. If you want to just practice the portrait painting, you can watch the first half, and then I will put in the description where to skip to if you want to just go right to how to paint on the sugar skull makeup. So I'm just going to kind of draw a face here. To start with, we'll do like a symmetrical face. I don't think I've ever painted, to my knowledge, done like a painting sort of tutorial or just step-by-step let's paint thing of a forward face. So we'll try this out. And if it's a little bit messier than it usually is, it's just because I've kind of messed up my hand and I'm kind of working around that. So we will just go with however it turns out. It'll be beautiful no matter what. So first I drew the guides, the cranium, the horizontal and vertical guidelines for like the symmetry helpers of the face, and now I'm drawing in the eyes, and this is all wrong. The symmetry I can tell, so you can see that this line, this whole area is a little bit smaller than this little area, so I'm just gonna actually just select this side of the face and move it in a little bit and just kind of even it out. And this is just, I think those things, if you don't see them right away, you'll see them the more you paint and draw or whatever and make mistakes. And I really do believe it's the philosophy is that you have to kind of fail a bunch before you can kind of tell what you're doing wrong, So I think it's good to be ambitious and just keep trying to draw, and don't try to draw the same thing over and over and over again. You'll just kind of get stuck then and you won't learn from your mistakes. So I think it's good to draw something terrible with lots of mistakes, because then you'll know in the future, you'll kind of see, well, I know what I did wrong here, and hopefully you won't repeat them too much in the future. Okay, so we're drawing her nose, and this is going to be painted in. So these sketches are just mostly for like reference. So draw her nose in, and just like that, and you can kind of get the idea of, if this was in 3D. I'll just draw these in for the emphasis of the shadows, I don't know if that's making sense. I'm just trying to kind of draw in things so you can tell what I'm drawing in, and not be, too confused. So then, her nostrils would be over here. And there we go. And then we'll do like a face. We'll do it. I think the nose is a little bit too big. I think actually all of this is too big. So I'm gonna just shrink it down a bit, like that. There we go. And it's okay if she has a big nose, I don't care. Everyone comes in different types. I think I have a big nose. So I'll draw her mouth in, just kind of sketch in how it'll look here a little bit. Let's see. We won't go too crazy because, this sketch layer is just kind of just to tell you where to paint, basically. Nothing really stays much from it. Okay, so I'm gonna move this up a bit, and I am actually going to, the sketch really doesn't matter, like how exact it is. I just wanted to move that down. I guess I made her nose a little bit smaller. It's okay. So, when I paint, I'm gonna realize that I need like this area here, so I'll move the nose up just a touch too. And there we go. I'm done messing with the nose for now. Let's finish detailing in her eyes. We'll have her just looking straight at the camera, I guess you say, or the audience. And just like that, and like that. She doesn't quite, her eyes don't quite match up, so I'm just going to work on that one a little bit more. And there we go. And if you're really worried and you want it to be super symmetrical, you can pick which eye you like the best and delete one. If you're doing this digitally, copy this one. I hit Command Shift V, or I guess Alt Shift V if it's Windows. I'm not actually sure. And then, flipping this horizontally, and that's one way you don't have to do it that way. And then you can draw in the details. This is just if you're really worried about the eyes looking symmetrical. Oh, and then I have these on a separate layer, so I'm just going to merge them down. I hit Command E to do that. So now I'm going to kind of draw in some eyebrows. I wanted to do this kind of quick. It's taking a little bit longer than usual. And so I'm just going to kind of push on, drawing her ear shapes, although I think I'm going to have to give her like wavy hair is my plan. And so her hair will be something up here. I might just kind of swoop it back and then have it come in waves down here like that. And same here, you know, like that. And we'll just kind of swooshy swoosh waves. I guess we better draw in her shoulders too. I think I'm going to, this should be a little bit, the neckline should be like kind of right under the center of the eye for this perspective. So we'll draw that down and then we'll do the same over here. You can kind of mess with the length of how you want. Okay, and finish her hair out over here. Just laying in, you know, kind of those things. We'll just probably paint in however we want it later. So we'll draw some shoulders in too, so she's not just a floating head. In fact, we can make her a little bit smaller, and so we can get a little bit more neck in, and she won't look, oops, and when she won't look totally like floating head syndrome. There's some principle out there, I think, of like proportions where you shouldn't cut someone off if you're drawing them or photographing them or whatever. And they shouldn't cut them off like right below the neck or right at the torso or right at the knees or something, because it makes it look like, I think it tricks the brain into thinking it's seeing them like sort of severed there. So, okay, that's good enough. We just want, you know, the shape of the head generally for painting. I'm just going to do one little quick edit, and that's to move this up a touch because I want her to have some space here. I think it looks weird if the lips are too close to the chin. And I might actually shorten this chin a bit just to reshape it a little better. Like that. All right. I always say I'm done and then I want to add these little things, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we're gonna sketch this down, turn the opacity down, and then I clicked on this, I've unlocked my background, and I'm gonna make a new layer with Command Shift N, or maybe Alt Shift N, or is it Control or Alt? I think it's, I don't know. I'm sorry, Windows people, y'all think I'm crazy. I used Windows, I just don't remember what their commands for them are because I use Macs more, so. Okay, so actually, let's turn the background like a darker color for now. Let's make it kind of a greenish. And I know sugar skulls aren't, that's a little too saturated for me. I know sugar skulls aren't like Halloween-y. They're more like Dia de los Muertos. I'm going to inverse this color so I can see it a little bit better. And I did that with Command I, or whatever it is. But I think sugar skulls are kind of good for this time of year, though. So I hope I'm not like annoying anyone by doing them. So now I'm gonna pick like a skin tone that's pretty dark. You know, you can always, I think it's easier to build up like if you pick kind of dark mid-tones than it is if you start out light. So I have my brush, by the way. It's really big, and I'm gonna turn down the hardness to about 90. And I'm just gonna add the color in, base color for the face. So we'll just go ahead and there we go. I guess we'll draw on her ears because I don't know how much of those will show. By the way, I have my opacity at 100, my flow at 100, in case I didn't say that. So we'll give her, I guess, just like brunette hair. I'm actually not going to go all the way out to the lines all over because I'm going to do the hair on a separate layer above this one, and I usually like to leave room for the, you know, the strands to go kind of like that. So okay, and you can hide your sketch layer, and you can come in and reshape the face if you want, or you can wait and add some details first so you can make sure you know how you want your face to be perfectly shaped. But I'm just going to kind of fill in the gaps a bit here while I'm at it. So, okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show that sketch layer again. I'm going to save my project. I'm going to start adding like features. So we'll start with some shadows. I'm going to get a little more saturated color. Oops, I want this color, and then a little more saturated, a little more red. How does that look? We're going to turn the opacity down to about 20, 30, I guess is what I have it on. And then I'm going to turn my hardness down to about 75. So that's what you're looking at putting down. And I'm just going to go in and put down where I know I want the shadows. So in the corners of her eyes, I didn't really decide on a light source, but I guess it'll be, we'll just do this over here, will be the shadows. What am I doing? Let's just add in right where all, like I do like quote unquote feature shadows first. And that's just kind of where the shadows might show up for the features of the face, on the features of the face in relationship to the, you know, bulbous parts and stuff. So we'll add these in so we know, like, you know, when we're applying shadows later where they're going to be. And you can add these in here. And then let's turn our hardness way down to like 13. Yeah. And we're just going to add a couple like where they would be. These are pretty dark shadows, and I actually want the finals to be a little more saturated, but we're just going to put these in so we get an idea of where we want the shadows to be. And then it'll be, I'm going to make my brush smaller, add some darker shadows on this side of the nose and this side of the lips. And I'm actually going to, before I do any more, I'm going to bump up the saturation of these shadows. So we'll just put a couple little shadows here where the neck is, and then since she's going to have her hair down, she'll have quite a lot of shadow area here, and that would be about where her collarbone is. That's why I put those lines in. So I'm going to go in and put just a little tiny, well, that's a little bit more than I meant. I'm going to pick up that color and in the mid-tone and resaturate it and just move it over like that, and we can add a couple of these yellow tones throughout to give her, you know, I think it's interesting when you use different shades of things. Okay, so let's take that sketch layer away from it just so you can kind of see it's a mess, but we're kind of getting blocked in the features. I'm actually going to move the sketch layer opacity down so you can still see it, but you can also really see where you want to add like defining lines and stuff next. So let's go ahead and start with that. I'm going to pick another kind of random color. I think these are a lot very yellow, so I'm going to pick one that's pretty red to kind of counter some of that yellow. And next I'm going to, I'll keep my opacity the same. I'm just going to go in and sketch out like eye shapes and nose shapes and anything else that I want, so I can hide that sketch layer and be free of it. Keep on like outlining that, and I know we never added the eyebrows. We can do that now. Let's add a new layer. I'll call it hair. And the first thing we'll do is put the eyebrows, and I'm going to pick up this color and make my brush a little bigger and just kind of like pick up the brush a couple times and put in some eyebrows right where I sort of drew them in, just like that. You can see what they'll look like. So, and then, you know, like I said, eventually we'll take like the hair and we'll work it out doing that so it's not like totally in this blockish shape, but we'll do that later. I just wanted to add those eyebrows before we forgot, before I forgot. So sorry for jumping around so much. So we're gonna draw these little creases in, the eyes, and then we're gonna draw the nose in, and we want to make sure we get these nostril bitties in. So we'll draw that in and draw that in, and then the lips. I'm going to come back and probably just work on them. I know we kind of sketched them out. I'm just going to sketch some of the bare details of them. Just like that. And then you can, I don't know how much of an ear we'll draw, but we'll draw in that little bitty, shady bitty ear hole. You know what I mean. Okay, so let's take the sketch away, and now we can see her face better. We don't need to rely on it. And one thing I'm going to do actually, though, I'm going to bring that sketch back and add some shadow shadows under the chin. So So now that I can see more where her chin is, you know. And I'm actually going to take this color, make it brighter, or not brighter, but more saturated. And go around under the chin, like where the shadow, or where the like highlights would be. Just like that. So that's going to just make it a little bit easier on myself. Here, so now we have the basic shapes and shadows, and so now we just need to add some like shadowy areas. I'm going to take this, is still pretty saturated, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker, bump up my brush, and add some shadows over here and over here. And then I'm going to make it a little less saturated and darker. Make my brush a little bit smaller. I'm working just on the outer layer there of the shadows. And then what we have, actually I want this saturated color. So I'm going to go back up to saturated. You just kind of mess around with colors. I'm going to add, like, you know, some shading would be here and here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to bump up this, and this will be, oops, kind of like a weird peachy color. And we're going to just kind of, well, that's too peachy. She looks kind of weird. I'm just going to add some peachiness. This is, I think the opacity just needs to go down. Peachiness here under the eyes. Let's add some like over here in this area, and then I think that this the original colors I picked, I always tend to pick them a little less saturated than I should, and I do it over and over again, but then I just kind of work with it. So if you guys pick more saturated colors, good job. If you picked desaturated ones like me, I'm sorry. We can work through it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the shades some more. And I guess I'll go with saturated. And I'm going to, since I've got my opacity down now, I'm going to turn up my hardness a little bit. And start kind of working on all these like more detailed shades around the eyes. So, you know, you get a lot of, if you're looking at the face, the eyes get a lot of the shading, the darkest shading, and then under the nose. So we're just going to kind of work on this. We're going to add a shade across there, and we're going to add one under the nose like that. One over here, since we decided the light's sort of coming from that way. Although I think this is kind of low light, so I'm not worried too much about the look of it. And then, you know, add some under her eyes, where there'd be some natural shadows there. And she looks properly kind of spooky without any pupils, don't you think? I think I made her neck too small, so I'm just going to kind of, I know I've got my brush all kind of weird and fuzzy. I'll just kind of work it out like that, and we'll redefine it later. Like so. Okay. So, same over here. Just kind of move it out a bit on the hairline. Oops. Just like that. Okay, why not? Just like that. So now let's, since we've defined somewhat of her face, let's go up next. And I don't want my brush that big. I'm going to move my brush setting up to like 40-ish. And I'm going to work on her hair a little bit, just because I think it's good to detail things at the same time. And just kind of keep it, I don't want it quite that saturated. Just keep it kind of going. So we're going to kind of make a darker one, and we're going to make a lighter one. Like that. And we're just going to actually just kind of go through like where the darkness, like a part maybe over here. And she's got some, you know, like we've got it, she's got it swept back. So we'll draw some like, you know, parting lines. Like she could have her hair styled, I guess. Yeah, let's have it so it's kind of styled like that, but then it goes down. So we're just kind of basically sketching in how the hairstyle is too, with just this darker thing. And then you can come out the outer parts, and you can draw in some of these, just kind of, you know, give the hair some detail and stuff, and we'll go in and detail it more later. And you just kind of add some strands over here, like so. And we already added some over here with that other color. Just kind of add those in. You know, if you're doing curls, you kind of think of the shapes that they come in as like the shadows are kind of like a triangular area, and then the highlights kind of go over like that. If that makes sense. So that would be a shadow, and then the curl would be sticking out here, so it'd be catching the light, and then there would be another shadow kind of behind it. So, oops. See, this is on a different layer, so if you go over her face, you can just erase it. Just like that. And bring that curl up like this. And we'll hide it a little bit more in that shadow there and there. And we can do like another kind of curl over here. And kind of reshape the shadows sort of around it. So just like that. We can bring the shadow under this so you can see like the twist of the hair and then the shadow went under it. Okay. And I'm not going to go too much more. Let's get this side and then we'll move back to the face. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to the actual face, and now's the time when I start duplicating the layer and not deleting. Don't delete, please. Duplicate. There we go. And making a clipping mask. And this is just something I started doing. I don't know why. There's a lot of techniques out there, but this way, if I say I wanted to like change this nose, you can feather like 10 pixels, and then when you move it, because you're on that like other layer, you can like you have a little more freedom to like move it or shrink it or something, and it won't like if you do it without the copied layer, you have to deal with, even if you feather it, you have to deal with like these weird hard edges, see, like that. So that's why, if you're wondering why I do it on this layer. If you guys have watched some of my videos, I've probably explained this before, but in case you're new, now you know that. Okay, and create clipping mask. So I duplicated, created clipping mask, and I'm gonna go in and just you know what, I've done a lot of shadows, so let's do a couple highlights. So let's pick a nice bright color, and then we're gonna turn our brush to color dodge. We're gonna turn the opacity way down, because color dodge is very potent, as you can see. So you want your opacity down to like 5. And then you want your hardness down to 0. So I'm going to go in, I want like some nice color or some nice highlight right on her nose. And then so this technique kind of brings out, as you can see, it kind of looks like it's glowing. So I like this technique for adding the beginning steps of the colors, or I mean the highlights. So we'll do that there. We'll do some on her cheeks, especially over on this cheek, because we're giving this side a little bit more highlight. I think for now I'm going to call it, because I want to kind of even it out. So now I'm going to go to color burn, which is here. I don't know if that's showing up in the video. It's in the same thing. And I'm going to pick like a nice red color. And I'm going to keep it at like 5. And I'm going to go in some of these places where I think it looks too bronzy. Oh, that's terrible. Maybe not. Do a little bit more red. And then I'm going to add some red to it. I think 5 is still too high. So we'll bump it all the way down to like 3. And we'll go in and we'll just add some of these. So it'll bring out some red colors. And you can do like curves. And you can pick like red. And you can, you know, mess with them that way if you want. So you can see the difference. I mean, I guess since I did that, I can do that a little bit. But that was Command M to get the curves, or it's under Image, Adjustments, and Curves. But I'm also going to take this this color burn, and then I'm just going to put it in these shadowy areas. So she has like kind of a nice red. So we'll just pick the red, and we'll go in and just put a couple red areas down. Like that. And you can pick highlights in this too, the color burn. I don't think it works as well as the color dodge though, but I've done it before. Okay. So now we have her. She still looks kind of weird. bronzy. So in the future when I pick this color up, I'll be making it a little bit red and boosting it up like this. And then, oops, let's turn it back to normal and like 20%. And then, you know, if you want to like kind of apply that and kind of rework it, it's okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna actually push these highlights a little bit more that we've established a bit here. So I'm gonna move this up. Actually, I don't want my hardness quite. I'm gonna turn it up to 22% and my opacity back down to like 19. Okay, and you can do the same over here. We'll pick some colors for the shading and we'll just push them. Push those shades. There we go. We'll work on her eyes, mouth, and lip. And I think that's kind of, and then we'll just kind of go through and, you know, like after, we'll go through and just kind of smooth out some of these color transitions. But we're about done with the shading and stuff, so, okay. That looks a little flat now that I've done that, so we'll go in and we'll add some more gradients by just picking up the colors around it, and we'll give her like a little touch here of brightness that we'll work in, just like this. You just kind of keep working on it. Adds a little texture. If you want more texture, you make your brush harder. If you want less texture, you make your brush softer, but then you have to make sure you get details in, otherwise it looks kind of like a fuzzy mess. And I don't like that, so we'll do the same here with her nose. We'll add a little color here, and we'll work it in. We'll come in a bit because she's got this protruding. So just like that. I hope this, I know I don't always explain things perfectly. I'm going to add a dark shadow right out here and work it in. When I say work it in, I'm just gonna like be picking the colors around it and kind of working it in. That didn't explain it. And kind of like blending them to the nearby colors. Okay, so that's good enough. I'm just gonna call it there so we can move on and finish the drawing. So I don't like to make these too long. I'm gonna pick kind of this color for the whites of her eyes and just work it in a little bit here. And over here, this side, since it's a little bit more in the light, you could technically make this a little bit lighter if you wanted to than this one. Or you can just add more highlight or whatever you want. Okay, so we got that in, and now let's kind of draw the shape of her eyes. I'm going to pick this and make it even darker, and then go in and really shape her eyes here with the shadows. Okay, now make your brush a little bit bigger, and where you think the shading would be most, like right here in the corners, you can add a little bit more of the shading, just like that. And this will go in like that, and like that. So there's a little bit of light here, if you guys can see that. And you can even add a little bit more if you want, like that and that. Add some right at the corners where it might be catching. Kind of bring out those eyes a little bit more. In fact, you can just add like a really bright one there for that one, and then you can just kind of blend that in. And I'm going to take this color, go under the eyes a little bit here and here, and then we're gonna go immediately pick up a lighter color and just kind of work that in here. I don't want this too light, so I'm gonna pick it up and put it in there. Pick it up, put this one here. Okay. Then I'm going to bring this shadow back, just like that. Okay. And now we're going to draw in her pupil, or her iris, whatever you want to call it. And shall we make her eyes like a spooky green, sort of? Let's pick a green color and just draw them on in. Let me see. Something's wrong. Let's flip it. So image rotation, flip horizontally. I should have done this earlier. All right, let's do a little correction. So we have color copy. I'm going to merge it down to just the regular color, and I'm going to take this whole thing and warp it up just a little bit, and then warp this down just a little bit. And alternatively, that's a little better. You can see how bad it was before. You can go to filter and liquify, and you can take the tool here and just kind of work down what you think is wrong. So this needs to come up, if you ask me. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate layer, create clipping mask. I'm going to select this whole area here and here, and I'm going to feather, and I'm just going to tweak those just a little tiny bit. Oops, not that much. There we go. Oh, nope. What? Gotta have it. There we go. So as before, that's it. Just a little tiny tweak. And we'll do one more thing here where we select feather 10, and I'm going to nudge this out just a little tiny bit. And I just, I have it selected, and I'm just literally hitting the arrow key in increments. So there we go. Let's flip it back. Image, flip canvas. That's a little better. I don't know if I can find it in the history, but this is before. She's got like, it's all droopy down here, and these are with the fixes. So that's a little bit better. So I'm going to take these highlights. I guess I said I was going to do the thing next, but I'm going to push smoothing these out just a little tiny bit, guys. And gals. And everyone in between. Okay, now we'll go back to the eyes. So we have this green, kind of make it more of a uniform color. And then I'm going to take like a darker green, bump my brush down, and kind of highlight out the area there and there. We're gonna take our brush, it's at 15%, which is good. Pick black, knock our hardness down all the way to 0, and we're just gonna really lay in some shading here. Okay, then we're going to, I think, work on this a little bit more. So I'm gonna pick the color dodge option again, knock my thing down. My brush is still really soft. And I'm going to just go in and add some, let's see, this is not the color I want, this is the color I want. Add some light greens kind of in, like they're glowing at the bottom of this eye here. I'll do the same over here. Just like that. Now I've noticed I've done all this, and I've noticed that her eye is still a little messed up. So I'm going to make a tiny adjustment. I hope this isn't frustrating watching this kind of stuff. So now we'll go back to her eye. Sorry about the little detour. And we're still on color dodge, so we need to move it back to normal. Bump it up to like 20%. I'm going to make it smaller. Now I'm going to start detailing in. I'm not actually quite done with this, so let's take a quick moment to finish up this shading over here. So we would have some, shading colors here, and we'll do the same over here, like where the shading would show up here and here on the eye, and this kind of goes out a little bit more, and this goes under. She has kind of more ring eyes than usual because of the makeup. If you wanted to make, if you're watching this, poor people, if you're watching this video not around Halloween time, hopefully you appreciate a little bit of a spooky portrait. Okay, and now we can hit Command, or I just hit D, make my brush really small again, and we'll go back in and we'll shape in the eyebrows like we were gonna do. if you want, you can take the white while we're at it. So hit D and then pick the white and just add like a tiny white in here, like her eye is wet. You make your brush smaller if you want, and add that little final touch there. And then I'm going to hit D again, make my brush bigger, and I'm going to add in, oops, I'm going to make my hardness like 66, that's good. I'm going to add in the pupil next. So I'm just going to kind of draw that in just like that. And now we add some highlights. So we're at 13, let's bump it up to like 25. Make sure our hardness is back down and just add in kind of a shape for a highlight here, shape for a highlight here. And then I do like a little tiny dot here, and you can turn your opacity down to 8 and add like a little tiny one here and here. I'm actually going to go back up to the hair and select these eyebrows, feather, just in case, and move them up because they're now too far down. And we're going to go back while we're at the hair. Actually, let's go back because I said I'd do the lips, and I want to be a person of my word. So let's pick a peachy color here, like this. And then I want like a really highlighted color here. And we can add one on the outline of the lip over here too. Her lips look a little funny, we'll work on them. So now we'll go up to the hair, finish detailing some of the hair, and then we'll come back and we'll really push the highlights of this face. So, but first we'll do the hair. We're still at 17, that's fine. Yeah, let's pick, I don't want to pick the same colors or skin, it'll start looking monotone. So let's pick a highlight-ish. I'm gonna make it more yellow for the hair, like this. And we'll go in, I'll add some areas. I don't really like this color. I'm gonna make it a little more orangey. And I'm going to take my brush, make it bigger, use previous layer as clipping mask. I'm going to make a new layer. Oops, not that. New layer, use previous layer as clipping mask. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to push for this to be lighter on this side. And then since we have this, let's go ahead and make it a little bit darker in places, like so. And this is only over the ones you've applied here, so this is untouched, this bottom layer. So you can't go too crazy with it. Although you can go on this layer if you want, and you know, mess with the background color if you want. It's up to you. Okay. So we'll go back to that clipping mask, and I'm gonna merge it down. And then I'm going to go in, I want this to be more orangey, like this. And work on these highlights a little bit more. And then I'm going to pick, make my brush bigger, pick a much darker color, and go in and then just add some quick, that is not dark enough. Here, add some quick shadowy areas. Okay, so now she's got that. I know her hair isn't perfect. If you really wanted to detail it out, you make your brush really small and you go in and you add some strands and you work them in. You can even add some like over her face. You can probably, oops, I don't want that. You can go in and you can even, let's make it a little bit bigger, like the little fine details of where her hair strands would be coming out, since they, you know, kind of come in like that. You can spend some time with that and add some lighter ones along with it, like that. And then you could add, oops, let's make it smaller, like this. You could go in and be like, I want some really bright highlights little tiny strands, and they could go and they give it a little more interest, like that and that. Really quick hair tutorial. But you guys get the idea. So that doesn't look so bad. And if you really want to make it super fancy, let's make a previous clipping layer mask. Color dodge it. This peach color. Make your brush really big. Make your opacity down to like 4, 5 is good. And you just really work on these strands on the very edge here. Like there's a little bit of backlight glow in them. And you can add some highlight areas with that. I think this needs to be brighter. Just really add that brightness there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to her skin. I'm going to pick a blue. I'm going to go to overlay. 5 is still okay. And we're gonna add some blues to her nose and her cheeks and anywhere that might be kind of an interesting highlight, like above her eyebrow. Let's pick a green. Do the same, like maybe around the same areas, but let's pick a little highlight area there and here. And let's add a nice rosy pink. And here we're gonna put it over here, put it in her nose area, right there, and definitely her lips. Now she just looks too red. That's okay. We'll take the yellow and we'll make this smaller and we'll, oops, I'm on the wrong length. Let's go back a bit because I added too much red there. So we'll make this smaller and add these yellows in. Too many yellows. Let's go back. Just add these yellows in here and here. Okay, I'm going to merge this layer, duplicate layer, like that. Create clipping mask, and I'm going to shrink her lips a little bit. So, feather it. So, 10 pixels, and just move her lips in. She just doesn't, she's got way too big of lips. Warp, bring them in a little bit like that and that. And then I'm going to take this brush, turn it back to normal. Turn my opacity up to like 19. I don't know what happened here. It's like we've lost some color there, so I'm going to go behind the layer there and fix that. Okay, and then I'm going to just put some color in, I mean shading in here, like that. And I'm going to make a shadow pass over here. Let's add a couple little layers of the shadow so that we can change the dynamics of the skin tones. Okay, does she look less like a doll? Not really. I think we're gonna call it though. I'm gonna move her nose up as my last little thing I do. Feather. Actually, I've got one more thing to do after this too. One more thing. Move her nose up. We're going to work in these highlight, or these color variation areas. I'm going to go back to the color dodge, and I want to just down to like 5%, and I just want to pump up the highlights. Oh no, wait, go back. Since I move that stuff, there's if I release this clipping mask, I'll show you what happened here. There's this area that's going to show up. Oops, no. So I'm going to remake that clipping mask. What have I done? There we go. We'll just bring this back. I don't want the sketch layer. And then down here, there we go. So we're going to take it, merge it, duplicate, and clipping mask it. And now we can the last thing you could go in and do is just kind of blend it in and add some more, you know, oops, well, some more shading if you want to really push it. What's my opacity? Too low. And since you've lost your details, you might want to go in and reaffirm some of these highlights. I want my hardness 0 and my brush a lot smaller. Reaffirm some of these highlights so they look a little bit more, and then, you know, blend them in. Probably don't want your opacity quite that big. Make these shadow areas a little darker. Put a little shadow over here, working a little highlight on her nose. Any little detail areas that you missed. These are just finishing touches. I might be zooming through the video a bit here. Okay, we're gonna call that good. I know that it's a little bit unfinished, but we're gonna paint over it, so I don't want to go too crazy on it right now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Let's Paint. Thank you for your patience. I know it's been like kind of a weird one. My hand's a little messed up, so I haven't, I don't know. I haven't been able to control so much what I've been doing lately. So hopefully you were able to follow along, and I hope you guys have a great day. If you want to see how to do the sugar skull painting makeup, check out the next video, which is sure is popping up on the screen right now unless I forgot to add it. Otherwise, hopefully it'll be in the link in the description below. I hope you guys have a great day and take care.